The Kentucky House has taken the rare step to impeach a sitting judge in Fayette County. An impeachment committee was formed towards the beginning of session and has spent the past several weeks deliberating a petition to remove Circuit Judge Julie Goodman from the bench. Earlier this week, Goodman appeared before lawmakers to make her case, and lawmakers heard testimony from Fayette County's own Commonwealth's attorney, who argued in favor of the impeachment. The resolution passed Friday by a vote of 73 to 14, citing 6 cases alleging abuse of judicial discretion and authority.
The elected prosecutor of Fayette County has to prepare victims for what to expect in one specific courtroom, because what happens there is predictably hostile to the prosecution and to the victims, to the Kentuckians that she represents.
It doesn't identify criminal misconduct, ethical violations, or the abuse of office rising to a constitutional level. Kentucky precedent indicates that impeachment has historically been reserved for serious misconduct, including criminal acts or an egregious abuse of authority, not disagreements over judicial decisions.
A trial will now take place in the Senate that will determine if Goodman is removed from the bench and if she can hold elected office again. Trey, I want to start here with you. Much of the debate Friday talked about what kind of precedent this could set for future impeachments. What do you think?
There's a lot going on here. I think there's a mechanical kind of precedent, and then there's the legal precedent. Mechanically, the Senate, Senator Stivers has kind of indicated we don't really know what we're supposed to do with this thing now. They're going to have to study it, and that actually leads me to believe that they might not get to it because we have sine die rapidly approaching. Can they fit this impeachment hearing in the next 15 days? That's going to be difficult.
I think they can do it outside of session.
Okay. Well, that's the question that has to be answered.
So.
Yeah. But on the legal precedent, I'm kind of two minds here. One, if you read, I've read some of the Court of Appeals decisions sent back on some of these cases that are at issue here, and if you read many court cases and you can read between the lines of the tone and the verbiage that the judges are using in their rulings, I mean, those rulings are the judicial equivalent of a diss track. Like, they are yelling at her. Like, they are mad at her actions as a judge. Her decisions were not good. They were bad. They violated the law. They violated what she's supposed to be doing as a judge. The question is that a role? Is getting rid of her the job of the General Assembly or the job of the voters of Fayette County? Some of those courts, some of those cases have been, those were decided, and then she was put up for re-election, and the voters still re-elected her. So I think that there's a question that the Senate's going to have to deal with, because they're kind of dealing with a whole different question than what the House had to deal with. And I think it's, whose job is it to get rid of this woman? I believe she needs to be gotten rid of, but is it the job of the General Assembly or is it the job of the voters? I think that's the question the Senate's going to have to deal with.
Jared?
Yeah, Trey pretty much hit everything on the head. The real bad stuff for her were the Commonwealth attorneys, her presentation, her testimony at the committee was very, very troubling.
Saying that she has to prepare her case differently than for any other judge is concerning.
I talked to Representative Nemes. I know Trey talked to Representative Blanton. They are very aware, and they're aware of what kind of precedent this could set. And it could be a horrible precedent, because then you could have, well, I don't like this Commonwealth attorney. Is she going to impeach me? And so, but technically, Judge Goodman did not commit a crime. So can she be impeached? And also, I don't know, the person that filed the complaint, I don't think it was notarized or signed an affidavit. So there's a technical part of that also. So if she didn't technically commit a crime, why is she being impeached? It should be left to the voters. But do you want to leave somebody that is a detriment to the bench, that a lot of people feel, for another 4 years till she faces the voters again? So I see both sides of it. I honestly don't know. I just think it's a dangerous precedent. Very, very dangerous precedent.
Her actions are kind of in a weird loophole where the state Supreme Court and kind of the judicial ethics system, she hasn't technically violated any of those, but I haven't found a judge or a lawyer who believes that she's acting properly. Correct. So,
but there are other channels. Like, why didn't they go through the JCC? There's other avenues they could have done.
Well, I think this is it's kind of like situations we've seen in the education world that we've talked about in the podcast, where they've done wrong, but it's also not the wrong that particular body has the oversight to be able to remove them for. So, where does it lie? I hate this, and it's from the federal government on down. I hate this. I don't like them, so let's impeach them thing.
You blame Ken Starr for that, buddy.
That's fine. I mean, I don't like it. Period. It's just impeachment should be a last resort for extreme wrongdoing.
And she was unapologetic. She said
Yes.
she would do all that over again. So I don't think that helped their case at all.
No.
At all. So maybe a little like, and also I thought maybe this is just a shot across the bow to all these wayward people that they think are wayward judges. Like, hey, we're watching. We are watching what you all are doing.
I'll say this is the consequences of having elected judges. I've
There you go.
I've talked at length with Representative Nemes about it. I think he and I both have ideas, and I've kind of come around to his idea, which is to have retention elections rather than elections, and then they'd be a gubernatorial appointed.
It's part of my business, buddy. It's part of my business.
I hate to cut y'all off too much, but we unfortunately ran out of time here. So there's a lot more to follow with this particular issue as it moves through the Senate, and we'll be watching that trial pretty closely.